So I'm going to just read off real quick.
Sure.
The Detroit Pistons first-round picks from 2009 to 2015.
Okay.
Austin Day, Greg Monroe, Brandon Knight, Andre Drummond, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, and Stanley Johnson.
Okay.
There's no star in that group. You know, Andre made 2 all-star teams. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope's a valued role player now, but they didn't find that star. So all of that losing was all for naught, basically. And during that span, I don't believe they won any more than 30 games, 32 games. And so when you lose that much and that frequently, I really do believe that it takes a toll on the franchise. It's hard to we're seeing it with the Blackhawks in a way. It's hard to get the losing out of the organization once it's infected the organization. And you know, and there's examples of teams, Oklahoma City, they rebuilt, but they were never, all right, we're gonna try to lose. Remember the year they had Chris Paul, made the playoffs?
That's true.
And then they, traded him and then ran with the younger guys. But there's ways to rebuild, retool your roster without, trading every veteran that's above the age of 28 and just going at it that way. Like, so, like last night, for example, Andre Drummond, DeMar DeRozan, they stepped up when Coby White and Patrick Williams weren't there. Sure. But there have been nights when Coby White was going, then DeMar comes on late. Right. And so it's important to have that veteran presence to lean on during these, turbulent times. And so everybody who says, oh, you just got to trade everybody and then start over, look at the Pistons. They've done it. And, Cade Cunningham's a very solid player. Probably going to be an all-star in this league. No question. Is he going to be the guy? We don't know. Yeah. They have Jaden Ivey who's in and out. They were supposed to be a team that's like, okay, now they're going to take that next step forward. It just hasn't happened yet. Yeah. And so I think it's important that you continue to win. And, they're the biggest example of what happens when a rebuild goes off the rails. Yeah. And, there are examples of tearing it down and then winning starting to happen. You have the Sixers, but they're an oddity. Joel Embiid just happened to turn into one of the best players alive. Sure. And even then, Jaleel, Ben Simmons, Nerlens Noel, Markelle Fultz, they had their flameouts. And so this time when, you have your Coby White shining, you have Patrick Williams, he's attempting to dunk on people now. It's not working, but he's attempting. And, you have
the thought that counts,
right?
It's
the thought that counts. And then you have your Coby White who is hitting – one of the funniest things is watching Coby White when he has a chance to hit a big shot. Yeah. Because when he misses, you can just see it on his face how bad he wants to hit that big shot. Yeah. And so getting those reps and meaningful late game basketball matters. Yeah. Even if they don't win, it still matters. It's getting plastered by 30 just for the sake of a draft pick. It's not going to do any good. I mean, look at San Antonio. They got the guy who everyone pegs as the next guy in the league. And they're still going through a lot of losing.
Tons of it.
Washington, a lot of losing, a lot of bad habits being picked up. So I think what the Bulls is, they're not in the ideal situation they want to be in. Sure. But, Coby White's ascension, Patrick Williams' ascension, it makes everything better for the organization's outlook. Yeah. And so, fans always want to say blow it up and get rid of this guy, get rid of Zach. But having the vets like Caruso and DeMar is going to matter going forward. It's because if Coby White is a third option on a good team, it's important for him to get these reps and be able to impart wisdom on whoever the number 1 and number 2, whether it be through the draft or a young player they acquire. So that's just how I feel about. What about you? What do you feel about?
No, but first of all, that was incredibly well said in all facts, and I feel the exact same way. I've been up here preaching that the same kind of way, because I wanted people to see the value in winning, and the value, like even just going to a play-in game. I'm like, there's value in that, especially for those young guys like Pat and Coby who maybe didn't experience that. Going to the first round and getting beat up by Milwaukee is fine with me because I'm like, you got to a playoffs, you got to experience what it feels like because it's a different feel, it's a different vibration, and you got to know what it feels like. Now let's work on the next step, which is actually winning, So you understand what it is, you know what it tastes like, you know what it feels like. Now it's time to eat. You know what I mean? Like, when do you want to grub? The only way you can grub and sit at the table is if you go to dinner. You know what I'm saying? Yep. If you're not invited to the dinner, you can't eat. You know what I mean? Yep. And I want the Bulls to actually get to the dinner to eat. So I'm all about that. The only one I was on board with trading Caruso, only because when his name is coming up and you're talking about getting 2 first-round picks for a bench player, yes, I'm deal. Yeah. Every day of my life, that's a deal. And I still think they're still a good team without him. They're better, obviously, with him.
Yeah.
But I still think they're a good team without him. Now I don't think you can – I think that trade talk is off the table because of Torrey Craig. Yep. Since Torrey Craig is down, he's going to be down to like March. You got to stick with Caruso. Like, you really don't have a choice anymore. Like, you got to roll with that.
And then I will say, I completely – if you can get value for Caruso, they should 100% do it. Yeah. I am not a proponent of being mediocre for the sake of being mediocre.
Agreed.
I believe that if the team believes that the younger guys are ascending and that the key veteran – the offseason is coming up. DeMar is open to a contract extension.
Right.
Whatever they do with that, it's whatever. But what I'm saying is at least have him be around for this group of players. Correct. To be able to – that's a lot of buckets he's given in this league.
Dude, right now, like, if you're looking at it, he might be the second best small forward in the league.
Yeah.
Like, I can make these arguments about this for DeMar DeRozan. And for those things you're saying, like, those guys look up to him. Absolutely. And you see how they play. Like,
he's rubbing off on Pat. I think Will shared the video yesterday of the side-by-side of – like them doing the same move. You're starting to see Coby go into the right elbow, pull up mid-range, then Patrick's doing it. And so they're rubbing off on each other. You're starting to see progression. That's what, I think the frustration is with Bulls fans. They weren't seeing the Patrick Williams. You were seeing guys like Lowry Markkanen and even Chris Dunn in Utah. Seeing those guys go into other places and produce that, I can understand a Bulls fan's frustration. But now you're starting to see growth from Patrick Williams, growth from Coby White. And so, it's not the ideal circumstance, but I don't think you tearing it down to the studs, it's hard to recover from that lose.
Yeah.
I mean, even a team, New Orleans, talented as can be, but there's just something that they're missing. And that it's just, I can't put a finger on it, but it's something that they're missing. Even though they, ideally they have the guy in Zion, the guy in BI. But but I agree with you though. If you could get something for Caruso, it would behoove them to get something for Caruso. This team, 12-18, I believe the record is.
Yeah.
But I might be wrong. You're more tapped in with the fan base, but I would say at least the vibes on Twitter are better just because of what they've seen from Coby of late.
Well, they don't have a choice, in that. Like. You can be stubborn and continue to feel that way, but you don't really have a choice. And you have to be silly to sit there and not be impressed by what you're seeing these young guys do. And even Ayo, we haven't even mentioned him, like, and what he's doing and the role that he's carved out for himself pretty much. So like, I'm excited about it, and definitely the fan base is excited about it, seeing those guys like Coby, because there have been a lot of Coby apologies that have gone out. You know what I'm saying? Because people thought Coby didn't have that. Like, I've talked to many dudes who thought that, like, years ago, who were like, no, he ain't got it. And I would always ask that question, like, if he don't got it, can he get it? Like, what's stopping him from getting that? Yeah. Nothing. Obviously, nothing was stopping him from getting it. He went and he got it, and he
all-time leader in North Carolina scoring.
Come on, dog. Like, he hoops. He balls, man. Looking at this comment, who is that? Satya making? No, you don't completely agree. You said we should trade AC last night. I was not here last night.
I was not either.
You got some black people confused, bro. I wasn't here last night. So check out that show. That wasn't me. But I just said right now, I thought we should trade Alex Caruso, Yep. But I don't think you can anymore. I just don't think you can anymore and still be what I thought they could be without him, because a lot of that was dependent on Torrey Craig, being here and being healthy, who was great for us. But without him, you got to hold on to Alex Caruso, man, because if you lose him, bro, exactly. you opening some floodgates here, man. But for the people who want to tank, and the people who have that ideology, or even this team playing like this, what can you tell them about this type of value that can come with the Bulls actually making a play-in? Because there are a lot of people who don't see that value of this team this year making a play-in. Even if they get to the playoffs through the play-in, they still don't see any kind of value in that. They just would rather tank, start over, and take it down to the studs. As Matt says, burn it to ashes and then set the ashes on fire. So how do you say it to those guys who don't see that kind of value?
I would say, look at the 2024 draft. Joe Cowley, shout out Joe Cowley sometimes. He wrote about how average the draft is. And, he talked with, well reputable people, and it's not a strong draft. There is no Wemby in this draft.
Yeah.
There's a Ron Holland for the G League Ignite. Yes. There's an Isaiah Collier who's at USC.
Yeah, Collier, shout out.
These are solid players, but these aren't difference makers. Yeah. There's no D Rose at the top of this draft. So if you're going to tank just for the sake of tanking, just to get a guy who's not going to really move the needle, then that's just a waste. The NBA is all about experience. It's all about getting reps. And, Golden State, they built their dynasty off of finding Klay Thompson, pick 11, Draymond. The Boston Celtics, they had 1 year, the Isaiah Thomas in between years when, they had the last hurrah of that 08 Celtics team. Then they had their rebuild, get Marcus Smart. Then the weird years, it's kind of like in Community, they had the gas leak seasons in between where the Dan Harmon wasn't there anymore, so they just call it the gas leak years, the weird years.
Yes,
that's why I call it the IT years in between. Those little fun years.
Yeah. And
then they got the Kyrie Irving, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown core. It's just they never really tore it all the way down.
Yes,
they even had a year where Evan Turner was on the team and they were still a solid team. Shout out ET from Chicago.
Shout out.
And so you look at all around the league, and there's not many teams that took the most extreme version of tanking.
Yeah.
They did rebuild, but I just think there's a fine line between rebuilding and tanking. I think rebuilding is when you are rebuilding with a plan in mind for the future. Tanking is when you're just, all right, we're going to put out this roster, see what happens.
Right.
And then that's where, Houston, you saw what Houston had to do this year. They had to go out and get they got rid of the substitute teacher and got the hard, stern teacher in Ime Udoka.
Yes.
They had to get adults in the room with Dylan Brooks and Fred VanVleet to write the culture. And then, they paid
a lot of money.
A pretty penny for them. So, the Bulls have paid a pretty penny for, their vets, but would you rather this or, have the young guys that have to coach out of them the bad habits that they've accumulated over the years? So, tanking is fun. On 2K you do it, you get the first, second, and third pick. That's fun.
2K is easy.
But in real life, and these are real people in real situations, it's just different.
Just a different monster, ain't it?
It's just different.
Yeah. And I talk about that with my friends all the time, like that 2K way of thinking. Like everybody just can build their team like that. And I'm like, bro, there's no creative players. Like,
there's no creative players.
You can't turn the fatigue off. You know what I'm saying?
It's hard to walk in the locker room like, we're losing this year, guys.
Right.
You can't do that. Is this the human element is just so undervalued when it comes to these things?
Yes. Say it
these
again.
Are real people you are dealing with.
Say it again, bro. Like, people don't factor that part in, bro. Like, these are human beings who are paid professionally to play a sport that they love. They didn't come out, and a lot of them, if they're at this level, aren't used to losing. You know what I mean? They didn't come up in high school or in college losing. It's not their thing. So to do it, and I'm sure it's devastating to the Pistons and what they're going through and dealing with, even to an extent what Wembanyama went through a 15-game losing streak. And he talked about how much he loves winning. That's what he talked about. I want to win, dog. I don't care about none of this. Yeah, you will never see me cheering for losing. I'm not for losing. I'm always for winning because there's value in wins. There's value in doing it that way. And you're kind of seeing it right now, like with this team and the camaraderie and the continuity of this team that's kind of working and coming together. And it's fun to watch. The Bulls are a fun product of basketball right now, rebuilding and retooling while they're actually still being competitive and winning.
We all silly like the mayor.